it's not so much an origin tale, but it does develop this idea of like, who is this guy? And one of the major themes in this film is man versus his own identity, trying to figure himself out. So I find that to be really interesting. When he's dealing with all these different characters, he's still trying to figure who he is. And you know, where most of these superheroes in film, comics, or whatever, they all know who they are, but nobody else does. It's like everyone in this movie knows who he is except for himself. When I got the role, I went online and I looked for anything I could to find Will Eisner's The Spirit, and I got, well, I don't know if it's here, but I got a color best of The Spirit, and I started reading it, and I think I brought it by to one of the meetings I had with Frank early on, and Frank was like, "Oh no, I don't want you to read those. Those are not good." He says I don't like the color versions of these, and I really want you to look at the black and white versions. So I was like, okay. He says I'll get you a bunch of Xerox, you know, of my favorite ones. And so he set me up with like a book this big, and so I had a month, and I was in Australia at the time, and I just started reading all of the comics and just trying to develop the character and understand where Will Eisner was coming from and all this stuff. Frank and I have been developing this guy from day one, and we were like, you know, Frank came to me early on, he was like, "Listen, we got to work as a team here," you know. I was like, "Oh man, hey, I believe in your vision, so anything I can do to expand on that, let's do it." So we've had great conversations on what's too far, what's too little, and I think we're bringing it, I think we're finding a nice place. I tried to see what Eisner was doing as far as lighting and as far as detail, because I think what Bill and Frank are doing is really trying to capture what Eisner did early on and then expand on that idea and make it their own. So that this adaptation is not directly black and white, but it does have some of these, you know, in some of these scenes there's like black behind a scene and there's nothing else, and it's almost like they're in a black box. It's like theater. You know, you try and build up, and if you see some of the old comics, his shoulders are like out to here, you know, and everything comes back into here. So part of the genius of the wardrobe is that they built these they built this body armor for me. So I've got like fake shoulders underneath, which give me a real sort of angular thing up here, and so it helps out. It's not that I, you know, didn't work out hard enough. I actually did.